All right. What's happening, everyone? It is time for another episode of Malt Reviews. That's Mikey as usual, and I'm Narby.
What's up, guys?
We're doing an Ardbeg. We haven't done many Ardbegs. I believe we've done two Ardbegs so far. We did the Ardbeg Oogie, and we did the 1974 Provenance as well. If you haven't seen that video, go check it out. That's some of the most collectible, incredibly fine whiskey. This was a special release during the 2000. This is Ardbeg, and the bottle is called Ardbog. I'm sure most of you guys are familiar. I've heard of this whiskey. This was the special release in the 2013 Fagile. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right. I think that's how it's pronounced. This one is a combination of bourbon cask and Manzanilla sherry casks. It is bottled at 52.1% ABV.
Monster,
and
perfect.
it does say on there that it is non-chill filtered.
Monster.
And yeah, this bottle has had a lot of breathing over the years, and time for us to review it.
I love the
It's got a nice, beautiful golden color.
Gorgeous color, yeah.
The combination of that sherry and bourbon, and we know, at least, you know, from trying some sherried Ardbegs, they do really well with sherry.
Oh yeah, baby.
And here we go. Time for the review. This has been breathing for about 15 minutes or so, 10 to 15 minutes on the nose. This has a ton going on. I could mention a million different things here. It's sweet, it's salty.
Mama. It's complex as hell.
It's got toffee.
Oh, damn.
Toffee and caramel. It's got raisin. I'd say salt, really salted caramel. It's got this beautiful sweet saltiness to it, like a salted caramel. It's an attack of peat, but it's not overwhelming. Okay, it's got similarities to the Oogdal, but it's almost a little bit more delicate than the Oogie, I would say, if that's the right word, at least on the nose. It's
well, the sherry's different.
The sherry's different. It's a little
Manzanilla, not Oloroso.
It's almost like a little salt, a little softer. This has just different kind of stuff, like pickle juice and those like fishnets and leather, and definitely like bacon kind of richness, meaty.
Oh my god.
Really nice.
This is nutty complex.
Anything to add, Mikey?
It's got everything, man. It's weird. In many ways, it is a little more delicate overall.
No, it's a beast of a whiskey, though.
Than the Ugadale for a sherried Ardbeg, but separately, like the peat part of it, I'm getting stronger. I'm getting like crazy gunpowder, like sugary gunpowder, but gunpowder, ash, but then mixed with, from the Manzanilla sherry, mixed with all kinds of tropical fruits and dried fruits, also in a strong way. Like it's pretty heavily sherry, but it's a different kind of sherry from the Oogdale. Overall, it's really interesting, man. It's so complex. I get all these crazy salty elements, some earth, some dirt, some leather, like Narby said. So many fruits, but all blended in with that gunpowder and that ash. Like it's a real Ardbeg, man.
Yeah. Not to overcomplicate complicate it. Just, if I'm gonna just break it down to 5 or 6 different things, that salted caramel, the raisins, the pickle juice, the leather.
I'm getting like garlic and shit.
The bacon.
Crazy herbs.
It's even got this fudginess to it.
It's got toffee and fudge too. It's nuts. It's complex, man. It's nuts.
Really, really nice.
Really impressive.
Really, really nice. If you have tried the Oogie, there definitely are similarities. I'm assuming both in the fact that it does have that sherry element, even though it's probably a different kind of sherry element. And it seems somewhat similar age-wise as well. You know, this is probably aged somewhere between, I would say, 10 to 13, 14 years old. I don't think it's more than that. Maybe even a little bit less, but somewhere between 10 and 14, right around that range is where my guess would be. Really, really nice. Anything to add before we hit the palate?
No.
All right.
I want to hit that palate.
Let's do it. Small sip to introduce, but it introduced.
Oh wow!
Big arrival of lots of peat, lots of smoke. Definitely that fresh leather, and I'm getting that salty pickle juice, the salty caramel. Definitely that meaty bacon.
Wow.
And obviously it's with not with all, but with most of these Isle whiskeys, it's like that ocean breeze. It just constantly reminds you. And this is this is really, really nice. I'm gonna take another sip just because I put a tiny bit on the tongue. I'm gonna reintroduce it with a bigger sip.
I took a pretty big sip. It starts out a little hot. It's actually, even though it's 52%, it's a little hotter, a little more alcoholic than the Oudale. What's the ABV on the Oudale? Like 57 something?
Last I checked, I'm not sure if yearly they're different, but it was like 54 point something.
Got it. But like
similar.
What I always say, the first time I ever tried Oudale, that was the first time when that strong alcohol had like a purely oily texture, oily element. Not alcoholic at all, not hot, not offending at all. This nice, interesting, unique oily element. And that's what I would say, like I wish that this had more of. But that hot take that goes away real quick. And then it's everything that we described. Crazy nutty herbs, crazy deep earth and root, like gentian root and like bitters, like Angostura bitters, all those kind of herby elements that go with alcohol. But then some gunpowder, some ash, definitely some coastal air, tons of fruits, everywhere from tropical fruits to citrus fruits to like dried fruits from the sherry, like dried raisins, figs, rum raisin. It's got it all in a very crazy, ashy, complex manner.
It's interesting tonight because we've recorded a few reviews tonight, and I think your palate is a little bit more sensitive tonight because you keep saying that it's arriving hot, and it's not arriving hot for me. And we just finished a review right before this, and he said the same thing about that one, and I said the same thing. So I think at least for tonight, and I haven't had a lot of alcohol. I'm not drunk by any means, or not even close to it. Wouldn't do reviews if I was. But obviously both our palates have been exposed to a couple very, very small drams, as you guys can see from the pour sizes. We're going very, very small, less than half ounce pours, tiny little pours, because we want to do multiple reviews, especially if we've tried a whiskey before. We're okay with doing that, pouring a small amount. But with a bigger sip, I poured water in that one, by the way. 3 drops of water on your second sip.
It helps. It needs water.
Yeah.
It needs a lot of water.
Well, I don't think you said that the first time you had it. You're sensitive tonight. Yeah. I think your palate is very sensitive tonight. But again, like we said before, that definitely differs from day to day. I know sometimes I'll be a lot more sensitive. For example, with the Ardbeg Ugadale, that's a great example. Sometimes it arrives really easy going, and even though it's a big whiskey, it's like, wow, this is 54%, and it's like, wow, it's great. I can drink it like this. And sometimes it's like, no, let me put like a teaspoon of water in here, because it needs to calm down a little. And really, it just depends on what you've had to eat and what's going on with the palate that day. But for me, it's beautiful. Even a cask strength on the palate. What'd you think with a few sips? Did anything change for you? I'm gonna try this with 3 drops of water here.
It not only did it obviously take down the heat, but it totally changed the fruit profile. It didn't change everything else, but the fruits got a lot more juicy, a lot more luscious, more on like orchard fruits, like apples, plums, pears. But still, like the ash, the gunpowder all around, the earth, the root, still complex.
Yeah, definitely has that big smoky element. 3 drops of water for me. I would agree that this whiskey definitely handles that water really well, and it adds to it. I can have it neat. Surprisingly, even with the big strength, I can have it the way it is. I can have it with water. I would say that with water it improves a tiny bit. But for tasting notes for me, it kind of remains the same. Really am enjoying really enjoying, again, going back to the same tasting notes, the salty elements of this, that attack and smoky peat with the leather and the caramel, and so that's sweet and salty and fruity. Classic Ardbeg. You're not surprised with any flavors here. This is, I think it's a great whiskey. It's similar to the Ugi, and I just think it's a great whiskey. I originally scored this a little higher than I'm going to score now, not because it went down in quality, but again, simply because we keep trying more and more things, and the better things you try, naturally everything drops in score. So the more experience you end up getting, the more beautiful whiskeys you try, eventually your scores kind of get adjusted, not because you necessarily like it less, but you have more of a library to compare it against. And we've tried many whiskeys, but in the last couple years we've gotten to try some crazy high-end whiskeys, and you guys have seen some of them, and we'll continue doing some really high-end whiskeys as well to continue the review journey. For me, the score's at awesome, love it. Score's at an 89 out of 100. If you see it, this was a $100 bottle. If you do see it for 100, I highly recommend it. Not only as a quality whiskey for drinking, but it's also a collector's item, so it makes it kind of cool and special. How'd you score it, Mike?
Give it 88.
All right, so again, we both really enjoy it, highly recommend it. I'm sure some of you guys have tried it. Let us know what you guys think, and I'm curious to know, do you guys prefer this over the Ugadale? For those of you who've tried both, I would like to kind of see what people's opinion on that is, because I do think there are similarities and it's fair to compare. All right, see you guys soon.